Oh, it's, yeah, I think it's, yeah, it says recording up at the top there.
Here we go.
We're live. Oh, God.
All right. They're starting to pop in.
Oh, yeah. Oh, they're popping in real quick. Ding, 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 ding. So does Zoom charge you money for this then?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Not quite what they charged you for the launch party, but.
Oh, that was expensive.
Yeah,
That had to be.
I looked up the numbers on it because we were looking at changing our plan, and I was like, whoa, you guys paid a lot.
Yeah, we did. And it was pretty stressful when I hit refresh on the website and it was dead. Live on air. That was embarrassing.
It went dead?
Yeah, well, I'd assured the guys, the one thing that they said to me was, there'll be a lot of people on that website on that first day. Do you think it can handle it? I said, don't you worry, guys. It can handle it. It's high quality premium web hosting. Don't you worry about it. And it is, right? And it's annoying because 2 weeks before we launched, I emailed the server admin. I said, we're launching this product. There's going to be a lot of people loading that page. Is there anything that we need to do to optimize it for a lot of traffic? He said, oh, no, it's all set up. Don't you worry. He was wrong. So he had this security setting on which limits the number of connections that you can have so that you're not susceptible to a DDoS attack. And he had that switched on. So all he had to do is switch it off, and we had no limit on the amount of people that could connect. So we learned that on air live while I was doing a Zoom launch party. I had to email him saying, what, fix it, what's going on? And he fixed it like that, but I still looked an idiot. It was painful.
So Gavin, one lady has commented, Margot, who's a friend of ours, that she's not here for the photography. She's here for your accent.
Well, I can deliver that. I can deliver that for a full hour. Yeah, that comes easy. There's no effort involved in that. Thank God people like it because I can't change it.
So for those of you coming in, we're going to give it about 4 or 5 more minutes to let everybody get logged in before we really get going here.
Well, we can't just sit here in silence, though, for 4 minutes, can we?
Oh, no.
That's just weird. So we should definitely... I don't know. It's up to you guys, but I think you should start firing some of the easier questions at me, the ones that aren't going to put me on the spot. Hello.
Well, there were several questions about Amanda. Speak of the devil. Hey, Amanda.
There she is. Oh, thank you, love. Yeah.
My stalker doesn't bring me water.
Were they appropriate questions or were they inappropriate? Of course, you can only answer appropriate questions.
They're thinking. I think a lot of people are thinking maybe it's like that movie where Kathy Bates had James Caan tied up to the bed and broke his ankles. Misery.
Misery, yeah. I've
I think
read
they're
the
waiting
book.
to see when Amanda's going to do that to you. So
she wouldn't do that to me. She wouldn't do that. So that's where we're looking. That's the that's the camera that's going to be on. She's not this short. It's just that the only chair I can afford, the only second chair, is an exercise ball. So that's what she's sat on. I guess if I was a gentleman, I'd sit on the exercise ball and I'd give you the lazy boy, wouldn't I? Really? Yeah, is that all right?
I just worked all day, but
okay. Sorry about that. Can you hear what she's saying?
I did.
Right.
She said she worked all day. Yeah.
So are we allowed to swear then?
I'm sure.
We won't. We'll try and keep it classy.
Yeah. Speaking of which, what are the sound effects you guys use for Amanda's burps? I mean, those are
there are no sound effects used for Amanda's burps. Those are her real burps.
Awesome. Those are awesome.
I'm sorry about that. So if I turn the audio up there, I don't want these guys to get a feedback loop, you see, or for it to sound tinny. So if you speak, can you hear them?
It sounds good.
There you go. So I'll turn it right down. Just don't want it to get an echo. Right. So hopefully that'll give us some decent quality audio. Right. How many have we got in? 35. They've got 100 participants booked to listen to me talk about whatever.
Nonsense.
How absolutely dare you infer that I talk nonsense? That's a bit rude, isn't it? So what do you want to do, guys?
We'll start here in just maybe a minute or two. So what have so I got to watch your video. I didn't get to see Adam's yet. So you guys went glamping.
Yeah, it was quite a historical occasion that I actually showed up in one of Adam Gibbs's vlogs.
I know.
I've been there for most of them, and you wouldn't even know it, would you?
Now he's had this whole man crush thing with Paul. So
yeah, that's his bezzy. I don't get a look in. He'll put Paul Thompson in his videos, but I don't get a look in.
Yeah.
Even though I put him in all mine.
I know.
Something not right about that, is there?
Yeah. How many of your videos have I appeared in, Cecil? None. Now that I think about it, Gavin, I can relate completely.
It's just unfair, and it's a bit selfish, to be quite honest.
I wasn't going to use those words, but thank you. You understand how I feel.
We just give, don't we, David?
We do.
And still waiting for a bit of that returned, So can you hear them okay?
A bit.
A bit.
He did give me my Bigfoot T-shirt. So.
Ooh, I like that.
It still complains.
Yeah, it does. It does. I noticed that. It's a Bigfoot's Little Donuts. It's a place over near Cecil. The guy sells like little tiny donuts. How did he get the name Bigfoot, Cecil?
I think because he's a giant man.
Is he?
Yeah.
A giant man who sells tiny donuts.
Yes. This is no story.
No, I believe it. I do believe it. I'm not allowed near donuts because I just can't stop eating them. I'll just keep eating them.
Well, Cecil and I have had this thing for years that when we go and we travel, we're trying to find the United States' best donuts. So far, there's a place in Titusville, Florida. Donuts for You is the best. Second best is a place up near a lighthouse up in Maine, the Portland Head Lighthouse, called the Cookie Jar.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. I mean, their one donut is like 3/4 of a pound. So huge.
What makes a good donut?
Sugar.
Chewy.
Oh, you like them slightly undercooked, a little bit
Okay.
chewy. Yeah, I like cookies like that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Cookies got to.
You know who makes good good? I was going to say the name. Who makes good cookies is Subway. Believe it or not, they're white chocolate chip macadamia nut cookies when they come straight out the oven and they're still a bit soft.
Yep.
Brilliant. They can't make sandwiches, but the cookies are bloody brilliant.
Yeah, when we go up to the Smokies, that's a place we eat lunch almost every day is Subway, and their cookies are just perfect.
If they're fresh. If they're not fresh, throw them in the bin.
Yeah.
Well, I'll have a quick swig of water.
You ready to get going, Dave?
I am. You ready, Gavin?
I'm ready when you guys are.
So, hi, everybody. Welcome. This is what our 6th webinar, Cecil. Is that right? 5th, 6th, something like that?
Gotta be.
And yeah, we decided you guys needed a break from us, and we were extremely fortunate and lucky that Gavin agreed to, he didn't know what he was getting into, but Gavin agreed to do this with us this week as our special guest. I met Gavin 2 years ago, just almost 2 years ago in Moab. And I remember right away, it's almost like meeting a friend. The first words out of his mouth were, "Hey, sit down and have a beer." So, it's you knew that the guy was going to be a good guy. Honestly, I had not ever done YouTube videos, not watched them or anything. And as I watched and I listened to him, it's tough for an old guy like me to get inspired. But Gavin's one of these guys that, as if you know Gavin's work, he inspires through entertainment as well. And so we decided to bring Gavin on to have a little presentation, and he added that he wanted to do a tell-all. So, this is the opportunity. If you have questions, go ahead and put them into the Q&A area at the bottom. We do have a few to start with. One of them we'll start with is, so Gavin, how did you get your start in photography?
It's pretty uninspiring, to be quite honest. I was actually answered this question yesterday on a podcast. I'll try and do it in a different way. I think I just got into photography sort of subliminally through watching movies, especially as a kid in the 80s, and watching a lot of sci-fi, adventure, and horror movies. There's so much cinematography, especially landscape cinematography, in those types of movies that it just, I just learned and got a love for it without realizing it, just from watching movies. And it was always the landscapes or those big vistas, whether it be like a moon setting over a horizon, or, I mean, even films like E.T. If you watch films like E.T. or Close Encounters of the Third Kind, stuff like that, there's so much beautiful landscape cinematography, and even like the streets, how they set street shots up. So I think that's what really got me into it. And then I think with the advent of DSLRs and full frame cameras becoming accessible to the masses at affordable prices, I really got into that. And once it became sort of attainable for people like myself, it was like a full-blown addiction. Once I got that first full-frame camera, started to travel, went around the world, came back with absolutely crap pictures, and then just had to figure out why are these so bad? And so then I dedicated, and I got obsessed with that process of refinement and getting better and better all the time. And then finally, you get to a stage where you can print off this beautiful, massive wall-sized print that's sharp and contrasty and has rich colors, and that experience, that fulfillment of your obsession is extremely rewarding. So that's an abbreviated version of how I got into it.
Yeah. Now, was it sort of so when you talk about the cinematography and everything, so you were attracted from the video aspect of it from the beginning as well? Would that be a safe assumption?
I guess I was. I think as a child and even into my teens, all I ever wanted to do or be was a film director. I wanted to direct movies. And then in my teens, I got really interested in the special effects side of things. So I actually spent years of my life sculpting and messing around with prosthetics for my friends. So whenever my friends would come around, I'd be like, okay, can I do a live cast of your face? And they'll be like, what does that involve? Well, I'll just put plaster on your face. I'll stick some straws up your nostrils so you can breathe. How long will it take? Oh, you'll only be under for about 45 minutes. And there was only one friend who said yes, yes. And poor guy.
We rubbed the lotions on the skin.
he wasn't happy, I must admit. And I don't think I would have been happy if I'd done that. But anyway, so I was obsessed with special effects makeup, and that's what I was going to be. I was absolutely going to go to the States, leave England, and go to some college somewhere and learn how to do that. And then I got into the guitar and I became a musician, and I did that professionally for 20 years. And all of that, that obsession of making movies, wanting to be a film director, special effects, it just disappeared because I just got so obsessed with the guitar that took over. And then I was playing in bands and I was doing the whole gigging thing and touring. And so that took over all of that. But I guess it must have stuck in the back of my mind somewhere, that obsession for just, how beautiful things can look, and creating a mood and creating an atmosphere. And so I kind of went full circle after doing the whole music gig for 20 something years. Slowly got back into the film photography aspect of things that I'd originally loved as a teenager. And I guess here I am now,
Earlier you were talking about, some of the photography and stuff you were doing. And I enjoy your teaching style. I mean, I've sat in a couple of your presentations and stuff, obviously. And what do you, because I caution people about ever comparing your work to another photographer's work. How do you judge your progress? Do you ever go back and look at that first image that you ever did and say, holy shit, I've come a long way, or do you look at yesterday's work and try to see what you're going to do?
Yeah. I mean, the stuff that I started out with was absolute crap. Like I look back on it, and sometimes it's so bad I have to delete it. It's just, I can't look at that. I don't want anyone to see that I did that. It's that bad. But I think in the last few years, especially in terms of composition, I'm quite proud of everything that I've accomplished. I think you get to a certain point with your photography, and especially with your composition. And I keep going on and on about composition because to me it's the most important aspect. Right. You reach a point of maturity with it where I think from that point on, unless you make a really big mistake, you're going to be happy with it. You might not be happy with how you process your images 3 years hence, right? Because those things change, techniques change, fashions change. The way that you process your images is a part of the whole art form. But I very rarely regret how I shot the image. You know, I might reprocess it a few years later with some new skills, or, you know, the technology changes. Photoshop is always getting better. There's other things out there, other alternatives to Photoshop. So there's different ways you can process your image. But when it comes to the composition, and if it comes to the moment in time, if you were there and it was absolutely spectacular and the light was fantastic and you got everything right with a good composition, that shot will be timeless. You may reprocess it a few years later, but it should be timeless. And for a few years now, I've been working really hard to only shoot those moments in time. And that might sound like nonsense if you watch some of my vlogs, because in some of my vlogs, I'll admit fully that the shot that I end up with is not necessarily portfolio worthy. But I think vlogs are a different thing. You're there to teach, or you're there to impart some knowledge, or to inspire, or to entertain. And so, you know, I'll try and do that. You're always trying to get an epic shot, but the chances of you getting fantastic light on every vlog, or even 10% of your vlogs,
Oh yeah,
it's very rare. So portfolio pieces are a different thing altogether.
now we did have a question come in. First, I've got to say thank you, Sherry. You noticed my haircut. These guys did not notice my haircut. But there is a question from Anna. She loves your work, and she wanted to know how you got fascinated with wide angle photography. I mean, I sort of have an idea, because, you know, I think I'm the same way. But if you can talk about, you know, I guess your favorite lens for photography in general, and then why wide angle fascinates you, or why you would prefer that a lot of times.
Well, in truth, I don't prefer it a lot of times. In truth, I actually, and it's been a few years now, I actually prefer to shoot at longer focal lengths, because that's far more challenging than shooting with a super wide. But I think the reason why I often shoot with a super wide is just because of the subject matter that I'm working with. So you're kind of forced to use a certain piece of equipment based on where you are and what you're shooting. And a lot of the time I'm shooting waterfalls, or I might be shooting nightscapes, you know, with the Milky Way. And so wide angle lenses often are kind of, you know, required to get the most out of those. But I think most people experience this when they first start out shooting. Let's just say your first camera now, let's say you were starting now, your first camera is probably your phone, right? And unless you've got that latest iPhone, you'll quickly find you can't fit anything into that frame. It's so tiny. The sensor is tiny, the lens is tiny. You can fit hardly anything in. So then you buy a camera. Well, most people will buy a Micro Four Thirds or a crop sensor that comes with a kit lens, right? And so kit lenses typically are not super wide. So again, you experience this frustration of, oh, I can't fit everything that I want to fit into this frame, until eventually you figure it out and you think, okay, I need to buy a super wide angle lens. And now you don't have that frustration. It's like, oh, I can fit everything that I see, I can fit in my frame. And that's quite a liberating feeling, especially if you're starting out. It's like, oh, finally, I can do that. And I find that a 16-35, doesn't matter what system you're on, but a 16-35 on a full frame camera is typically what I see with the naked eye. You know, if I look around and I think, I want to get a shot of that. Well, if you start at 16, chances are you'll probably be able to fit that in. And then if you need wider, then, you know, like a 14 millimeter or even a 12 or a 10, but that's the extreme end. You often don't need that. But yeah, I would start with a 16-35.
Yeah. Cecil, there was a question that one of the guys sent in about the sharpness.
Let me see. I had a different question pulled up, so you screwed me up.
Well, go ahead and ask that one then.
Let's start with a question I thought was a pretty great question. Sue wants to know, is there a particular photo that changed the way you see your art as a photographer?
Yeah, it's not. I mean, I wondered, does she mean a photo of mine or a photo of somebody else's?
Let's go with both.
I think, well, So if we're going to go with both, again, I said this on another interview I did recently. So I always try and reframe the way I said it so I don't repeat myself. It's embarrassing to admit, but one time I walked past one of those Peter Lick galleries, and it shouldn't be embarrassing, but a lot of people hate him, right? I'm not one of those Peter Lick haters. I think some of his work is excellent, right? Especially if you're talking about prints. So I do remember the first time I ever saw a picture of Mesa Arch. I never even knew it existed. So this is going back, well over a decade. And I walked past one of Peter Lick's galleries. Sure enough, there's an 8-foot wide print of Mesa Arch that's beautifully processed. It's on this high quality paper. It's got this, I think it was an acrylic even, and it's perfectly lit with gallery lighting. And I was just drooling, and I wanted to do that. I wanted to be able to create that kind of level of photography. And so I guess that's the sort of first print that I saw that inspired me to really try hard. And then I think the first shot that I ever took at sunrise light was at the Haleakala crater on the island of Maui in Hawaii. And it was a crap picture. It was terrible, but it was the first time I'd ever got up at 4 a.m. to go and shoot the sunrise. And I think the first time you ever do that, you think, because you've never done it before, you kind of think, I must be crazy. What am I doing? I'm missing out on valuable sleep to go and maybe get a crap picture of a sunrise and I don't even know where I'm going. What am I doing? You just feel stupid. And then I got there and I'd never actually seen light like this. I'm way up in the clouds. The sun is rising above the clouds and I'm above that, and I'm looking down at the sun popping up over this horizon. And then a giant crater underneath me with all of these rocks went from being just a boring, flat, dull hole to having all this shade and relief and shadow and contrast. It just exploded. And I didn't even have a tripod, but I'm taking handheld shots. So that was like my first proper attempt at getting good light, and that transformed everything. It was from that point on, getting up at 3 a.m. didn't feel stupid at all. It felt like that's what you've got to do. That's what it's a given. If you're serious, get out of bed, So that was transformative.
Yeah, I think, for all the times you get up and you don't get good light, I think those 1 or 2 times really make it worth it.
Yeah, I would say my success rate is 10% at best,
Yeah.
But what a high when you get that good light, or you get, let's say, mist rolling in, you get backlit trees, and you get just epic light, or a flat mirror reflection on a lake. When you get those, it does make all that other 80% of 90% of failures makes it worth it. It's that photographer's high, and it lasts quite a long time.
Yeah, I remember when I was first learning, I got to shoot with Galen Rowell a bunch, and he instilled in me. We would be out, and there'd just be just a horrible sunset or horrible sunrise, and he would walk away smiling and just say, "You know what? The next one's in about 12 hours. Let's be ready for it." And everything was like, that's behind us. We can't do anything about it. Let's look for the next one and be ready for that. And that's sort of, that's been my attitude in life, is just, hey, every sunset just means the day is done. Let's look forward to the next day and see what it brings.
Well, you and Galen are both better men than I am, because I get really frustrated when I do sunrise after sunrise after sunrise, and you drive 4 hours every time or whatever, and it's like, man, there's just one thing, there's just one failure after another. It does burn. I'm not going to lie. It burns hard. Sunsets aren't too bad, but sunrises, when you get up at 2, 3, you drive 4 hours for the 5th time that week, and if it doesn't happen, it hurts. But the only way to get over it for me is to keep going until you get it. And then all of those bad failures just evaporate. They're gone. You just remember that killer shot, and you've got the shot to prove it.
So Peter wants to know, he says, Amanda's first appearance in one of your vlogs, she was a client. Does that mean she's also a photographer?
Oh, God, they want the spoilers, don't they? Oh, they said your first appearance in one of my videos was as a client. Are you also a photographer?
I'm very good.
Are you better than me? Yeah, the truth is she's better than I am. So she never was actually a client. That was just a put on. But this is what I do in my videos is I mix truth and reality. So in that first video where she showed up as a client, she wasn't. But the other person that I said was a client was a client. So that's how I like to mix reality with, you know, fiction, is to mess you guys up a little bit so that you question well, what's real and what's not here. And so the answer is some of it's real and some of it's, you know, fiction. But I just like to keep you guys guessing as to which one is which.
Maybe I'm the sister.
Oh, that's creepy. Don't say that.
What did she say?
She said, maybe I'm a sister. Someone said that in a comment recently, didn't they? That would be very weird. Yeah.
So another question that came in via email was a gear question. And someone says, how important do you think the quality of gear is? And is it worth spending the extra money on sharper lenses or higher megapixel cameras?
I think it depends on what you're doing with your photography. If all that you're doing is posting a tiny little 4x5 on Instagram, it's probably not worth it, because you can make things look sharp, and it's going to lose so much of that sharpness and crispness and resolution as a small 4x5 anyway, that why bother? You know, you could get away with the cheaper gear, and you've got to ask yourself, is it worth the investment to you? I mean, I got obsessed with sharpness, absolutely obsessed with it. And I was spending all my money on lenses and even renting lenses. Every time I went down to the States, I would rent the next sharpest lens, you know, and I had a whole bunch of prime lenses because I thought they were sharper. It depends on how important it is to you. To me, it's important. I want to get the absolute best image quality that I can get. But then I do this professionally. So, you know, I guess I could justify that expense and that, you know, that obsession, that attention to detail. But if you're just doing it for fun, or like I said, just at Instagram, do you really need to have the absolute sharpest lens? I don't think you do. And do you absolutely have to have loads and loads of resolution? You don't. And having taught lots and lots of people over the last few years, I've seen the rise of micro four thirds cameras, tiny little sensors, and, you know, these small, tiny little camera, these lenses that just like, it's like miniatures, like miniature toy cameras almost. And some of the stuff that these people are producing, it's excellent. The quality is superb. They're sharp. That, you know, there's not too much noise. It's just excellent. So I would ask yourself the question: is it justifiable for me and for why I'm doing this? Only you can answer that question.
So on a related gear note, I had a Sony A7R II for a while, and battery life was crap. And I used to always laugh, you know, because you would always feature it in your videos where, you know, the battery light would come on after you were right in the middle of something. Did anyone ever ask you to tone it down, or did Sony ever say, dude, come on, you know, give us a break on it?
I don't know if Sony knows that I even exist. I don't get any handouts or freebies or respect from Sony or any other camera manufacturer. But I believe that if you're going to create a product that you're going to charge thousands of dollars for, and there's one glaringly obvious failure, which is the battery life, because it is pathetic.
Oh, it's
in
horrible.
those cameras. Like I have a love-hate relationship with Sony. I love the quality of the images that they produce, but I hate using their cameras. They're crap to use compared to, let's say, Canon. They're just crap. But the images that they produce are phenomenal, and for the price, you know, it's great value. So if you can get over that usage factor. I mean, now I have the A7R4 now, thanks to a very generous benefactor. Thank you very much. Can't mention your name, but yeah, I'm not going to let up on abusing Sony for providing a almost non-functional product. It's so useless, that camera, in sub-zero temperatures. I've lost so many beautiful video clips, so many funny skits, so many exquisite images because of battery exhausted. That hurts emotionally. That
Oh, yeah.
pisses me off, So I'm going to keep hammering Sony for not getting that right. I mean, I guess they've got it right now, but it's no good saying, "Oh, we fixed it now." 3 cameras later and $12,000 later. No, I'm gonna still keep sticking it to you for making me spend thousands of dollars on a poor product.
Yeah, and I think that's why, people like you. And, I think Cecil and I are the same way. We're what you get. What you see is what you get. And with you, it may not be the answer people want to get, but it's definitely going to be a truthful answer. So
exactly. I mean, you can't bullshit people about things like this because you'll just get found out. So if you think something's crap, tell it like it is, and if I go on about a product in my videos and praise it, it's usually a good product that I actually believe it. Well, it always is. I'm not, if a product's crap, I'm just not gonna promote it. And I get companies send me stuff all the time, especially filter companies. I've got every single filter you can imagine is on my shelf over there, and most of the time it's just like I'm not going to do a review. I'm not going to promote it because I just don't think I'll ever use it. It's it's not a great product. So in that case, I just never feature it. So yeah, what you see is what you get. If I say something's good, it's because it is.
yeah, good for you. So a question came in from Pace. It says, what aspect of your photography business is the most essential to making a living, i.e. selling prints, YouTube, tutorials, etc.?
Yeah, well, up until this year, I would have said the workshops has been the most lucrative. But like everybody, like every other instructor this year, we've all just seen that income evaporate. It's just vanished. So, now we're all scrabbling to try and find, well, what's the next thing? And so at this stage, I honestly don't know. It's going to be an experiment. It's going to be, a bit of experimentation to try and figure out other revenue streams. And I mean, I guess that question's coming from someone who's thinking, well, I want to turn pro. What should I do? And honestly, I can't answer that question. I would say, really think about whether or not you want to go pro, because it's not easy. It's a hard road to take, and it is definitely not a path to instant riches. If you're going to make a go of it, be prepared to work 16-hour days for years, and you're going to struggle. I'll be honest.
Yeah, the best advice I ever got about business and photography was, don't quit your day job until it's costing you money to go. So don't quit until you're making so much in photography that going to a regular job wouldn't do you any good.
Exactly.
That it's customer. Yep.
Yeah.
Now, did Cletus need to go out? Was that what Amanda was doing?
Actually, Sterling needed to come in.
Oh.
Now Cletus isn't here yet. We called his agent. So Cletus, people think that Cletus is a real dog, or my dog, but you got to remember, this is showbiz, right? So Cletus has his own agent, and we have to book him, and we have to hire him for the day. So I did send an email. He's on his way, and hopefully he'll show up soon, and you can put in an appearance.
I thought I noticed in that last video that there was a stunt double at one point. So Cletus has a stunt double.
Yeah, I thought Cletus looked familiar. Has he aired in any other movies or videos?
No, he may sort of resemble certain characters that you might know, Cecil.
That's probably it.
Yeah, I think you know what I'm talking about.
So there's a couple of questions that have come in. Well, the first one's not really a question, but he says he relies on David and Gavin because they are truthful about gear. And
That's one of my favorite guys, Otter. Otter's awesome.
Yeah, I know Otter, yeah.
Next question says, what advice would you give for a workshop participant to get the most out of their experience?
Well, the one thing I would say is make sure that you're instructor or supposed instructor is actually going to be there to teach you, because I know that there are a lot of very well-known talented photographers who offer their services during workshops, and then the clients show up and they just get a hello, and then the guy's off, and they're passed off to an assistant, and it's the assistant that teaches. So I would say if your expectation is that you are going to be taught by Gavin Hardcastle, make sure that that is what's going to happen. I mean, it is with my workshops, but I know a lot of people have a different model to that, because I guess they're so famous and they're so busy that they don't need to get their hands dirty and get down with the people and teach. But that's not how it would be with me. So I would just say, send them lots of emails and ask lots of questions about, this is my expectation. Is that going to be met? And then they'll quickly tell you, well, actually, no. Yeah, you'll be taught by his assistant who's 18 years old. He doesn't have much experience. So do your due diligence.
Yeah, a good indicator is always how many clients you've got returning over and over and over. Because you can only fool someone one time.
Yeah.
You know, if you know that they're not going to come back if you're not going to give them the product that they're expecting and they want. And you know, that's one thing with Cecil and I. We've developed lifelong friendships with some of the people that have come in our workshops, because you know we bond with them, and you know they know they can get in touch with us anytime. So.
See, that's the thing with workshops is, in truth, I'm not a people person. I have a very small circle of friends, and I am a bit of a hermit. I tend to stay away from human beings at all costs. But when it comes to workshops, you're kind of thrown together with a bunch of strangers, and it's almost always okay, because they're your kind of people. And by that, I mean, they're artists that share this same obsession, and they like to travel. And they're usually the type of people that are happy to get up at 3 a.m. on the off chance that they might get a shot. You know, they've got that same drive, that same obsession, and that same willingness to risk a few hours of sleep that you have. And so those are the types of people that I usually get along the most with. And like yourselves, you know, some of my clients have turned into lifelong friends, the ones that can put up with me, that is.
Yeah, I think you touched on something important too, is like, what are your expectations for the workshop? Because David and I get all kinds of clients, and, you know, some of them are, heck, they're probably better photographers than us. They just want us to take them to the spots, right? And then we've had a few clients that have showed up and said, you know, I could come to this place on my own, but I would never get out of bed if I was here by myself. You know, so you guys forced me to get out of bed.
Yeah, exactly. And then I think the other thing about workshops is, if I'm paying someone for their time and expertise on location, I would hope and expect that they know that location at least a little bit, or have at least been to that area before, so that they can kind of predict, you know, the angles of light and stuff, and know what's to come and where you should go. I think that's why I don't really do international workshops with other people on places that I've never been. I would feel like a bit of a charlatan if I was like, okay, come to this place. I guess it would be okay if it was like with someone who really knew it well, and I was like the hired hand to help out. But if it was me sort of saying, okay, come to this place, the only places that I take people are places that I've been at least once before, you know, and I've studied those places. I've sat there, you know, obsessing over the angles and really thinking about where I need to be, where I need to stand. I feel like that's what you're paying for when you pay for a workshop.
So a question from Carl says, what is your favorite U.S. national park?
Oh, I can't answer that question. That's just like, oh, that's brutal. You know, the thing is, I haven't been to them all. So there are still some places that are on my list. But I guess if I was to sort of say which one would be the favorite that I've been to, I really do love Olympic National Park in Washington State. I guess because it's kind of like Vancouver Island where I live, and it's one of those places you can get beautiful shots, even in bad light. So yeah, I'll go with that. I'll go with Olympic National Park for now, but that could change by next year if I find some new places.
So if you could go to one place, if someone said, we're going to send you to any place you want to go, where would it be?
Well, I have answered this question before, and I think it's the same answer still. And I haven't been there, so it's the Algerian desert, and
Really?
yeah, it looks kind of like it looks. Parts of it look like Utah and Arizona, and then parts of it just look like nothing you've ever seen before. But the difference is you have like these this culture. You have camels. You have these. I think they might be wrong, but I think they're Bedouin guides that take you through. So you've got this amazing landscape, and then you've got this ancient culture there as well. And it's magical, cinematic, and really dreamy looking. So that's on the top of my list. But I also would love to go to a place called Meteora in Greece, partly because it's spectacular, partly because I just love Greek food.
Yeah. How about you, Amanda? If you could go any place, where would it be?
Probably Kansas.
Really? Now,
Yeah,
why
I don't
Kansas?
know. I really want to see Hawaii. I've never seen it.
Yeah, that's the only state I haven't been to is Hawaii.
Yeah.
Oh, you've never been? Oh, you'd absolutely love it.
Yeah.
I'm kind of shocked
Other
neither
than
one of you
places.
answered Huntsville, Alabama.
I missed that one. What was that, Cecil?
But I'm kind of shocked neither one of you answered Huntsville, Alabama.
Yeah, no, that's not on the list. Actually, a place I really love to go is down at those cypress tree swamps that you see. David Thompson posts lots of images of those.
Oh, you ever want to make it down this way? We've got some really incredible Cajun friends that'll take you out in kayaks and stuff. You let me know if you ever come down, and I will get these guys to hook you up with some swamps.
And they have those cypress trees.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And I mean, these guys are just the most incredible people you ever meet. They will feed you till you explode. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And they're just so nice. I mean, I love going down to Louisiana. It's just an incredible place. Incredible place.
Right. Set it up, David.
All right. Let me know. So besides Cecil and myself, what photographers inspire you?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, my favorite at the moment is David Thompson. I've been following him for about 3 years. And, oh man, every time that guy comes back off of a trip, it's like, oh, I just want to quit. I just want to quit because he's so good. But, I think he has the best shots of the cypress tree swamps. But a few months ago, maybe like 8 months ago, he came back from, I think he was down in New Mexico. And some of the stuff that he came back, it was desert shots, those dry, arid landscapes. And I love photography that looks like it comes from an alien planet. So you should totally check out David Thompson.
I will.
I actually prepared a list of photographers because I knew he'd ask me this question, and I don't have it with me. So that's the only one that springs to mind. But yeah, check out David Thompson. He's on Facebook and all over Flickr.
Yeah, Cecil and I were on the list, right?
Well, Cecil was.
I knew I'd make it.
Oh, Amanda, am I on your list?
Am I on your list? I'm probably not even on Amanda's list.
So I wanted to make sure that I didn't see any questions fresh, but tell us about some of the projects you've. Oh, there was one that someone said, is there any photographer that you would like to collaborate with that you haven't yet at this point? I think is that paraphrasing it right, Cecil?
Yeah, that's spot on.
Well, obviously Cecil is the first person on that list,
That goes without saying.
That's because we've done something together at Warner Lake last year. Okay. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah. Because we've already collaborated. Honestly, I don't really think too much about collaborations in terms of photography, because for me, it's a bit of a solitary pursuit. I like my alone time.
Yeah.
So, the idea of, and even if you travel with someone like me and Adam, we do photography together all of the time. But once we get on location, we scatter. He's over there, I'm over here. So it isn't a solitary pursuit. I guess it's more of a case of who would you like to hang out with. And again, actually, David Thompson and I have been sort of throwing messages back and forth over Facebook saying, oh, well, come up and shoot on Vancouver Island. And he's saying, oh, come down and shoot the swamps with me. So I hope that and expect that will probably happen in the next little while. But man, it all depends on these borders opening up and
Yeah.
being able to travel safely. And so, we can't plan anything at this stage, can we? It's just a bit of a wait and see game.
Yeah. So talk about some of your recent projects.
Well, you guys know the recent project, the big project. I'm almost sick of talking about it, to be honest. The F4 road trip. We just put that out a couple of weeks ago. Man, that project was huge. It was a labor of love, and yeah, I'm just relieved that it's done. I'm just absolutely just overjoyed that it's over. I don't have to do any more editing. So if you don't know what that is, the F4 road trip is the most original landscape photography course on earth. We set out to make this huge educational landscape photography course that teaches you everything about landscape photography. And that's certainly what we did, but we tried to do something original and create this massive library of educational information, but wrap it inside the form of a sitcom, because we didn't want our course to be boring. We didn't want it to be a snooze fest like so many other, even the most brilliant photographers and brilliant instructors. At some point, when you're just watching a tutorial, it doesn't matter how good they are or where they are. It just does get boring, and that's no criticism on them. It's just the medium, right? It's teaching can be a bit boring. So we wanted to kind of turn that on its head and create something totally new and almost trick people into learning something, provide something that's so entertaining that they don't realize they're being taught to, if you understand what I mean. And so that was what we did with the whole F4 road trip. And it is a big, huge project that delivers a lot of instructional and inspirational content, but in a way that's hopefully going to make you laugh and entertain you and follow along with the story.
Having seen your videos for a while, and I'm not saying that you totally influenced that project, but I'm willing to say that your aspect of teaching and entertaining probably was the inspiration for a lot of what you guys did in that project. Because I mean, they've all done their own channels for a long time, and their channels are very different from your channel. And your channel is so unique, and I think that to me, from what I've seen of that F4 project, your influence is substantial in that project. So
Absolutely.
hats off.
Absolutely, David. I'm glad you acknowledged that, because it would look bad if I'd had to point that out. But no, definitely. I think what working with me has been able to do for the other guys is to, I feel, is to allow them to kind of break out of the mold of the standard vlogger instructor. It's almost like, association with me kind of almost guarantees that the people that I work with are going to step out of their standard role. And I think show you a little bit more of who they really are. You get to see the real person to some degree. I mean, obviously there's caricatures and we exaggerate things, but I definitely feel like you see more of the actual personality of the people that are involved. Even if we're playing a part, even if we're, working on some nonsense scenario, you're still going to see a little bit more of the true person, because when it comes to like instruction, people tend to default into this state of, okay, I'm the teacher now, and it's, I think us three guys are all teachers. So we all understand that when you teach, you do kind of drop into a sort of instructor role that is somewhat different to what you're going to be like if you just sat having a beer and chatting, So I think you see that other aspect of the other three guys. For me, it's just business as usual, it's just the same old. But I think that's what people will enjoy. They'll enjoy to see the other three guys step out of their comfort zone. We were all completely out of our comfort zone on that project, physically, emotionally, and mentally, in every possible way.
What was the biggest surprise for you in that trip?
The biggest surprise was that I would have such comedic chemistry with Greg Snell, the cameraman. So I can't believe now, looking back, I actually remember saying to Thomas Heaton, do we really need a cameraman? Because I'm so tight and stingy. I didn't want to pay for it, you know, because contrary to popular belief, we're not rich and we haven't made an absolute fortune on this project. So I was penny pinching and I was like, Tom, do we really need a cameraman? You know, just do it ourselves. And Tom was saying, no, you'll really enjoy it. You'll see that it's a better product in the end. And he was completely right. And so, you know, by the time we'd finished shooting, like me and Greg, we were just laughing all the time. It was just hard to keep a straight face, you know. And also it was like really hard to go back to filming myself after that. It's like I was very, very spoiled having a cameraman following me around and making me look cooler than I really am.
Do you have any clips or anything you wanted to share?
Oh yeah, I'm supposed to be doing that, aren't I? Right. So let's give you the full F4 road trip trailer. Hopefully this is going to work. So let me just click share screen, and I'll click share, and hopefully this doesn't go too slow for you guys. So I'm going to just kind of keep quiet while this trailer plays for the next couple of minutes. Okay, you guys ready? Here we go.
How's this, right? This is gonna be freaking awesome, man. Woo! Let's do this.
God.
Look at this thing. We are going to have the best road trip ever. Are you guys ready? We're gonna stay in this, and we're going to go down the West Coast. It's going to be amazing.
Why didn't you tell us any of this? Why didn't you say any of this in your message?
People want something real. They don't want, you know, us climbing to the top of fancy skyscrapers and flying around the world with this giant budget. We're going to do it on the cheap.
How are we going to pay for this?
Well, I've got a guy. Like everybody's got a guy. I've got a guy.
I haven't got a guy.
I haven't got a guy. I haven't got a guy.
I've got one word for you guys. Las Vegas. Las Vegas.
I hate Vegas.
That was 2 words.
For the most ridiculous landscape photographers on Earth, create the most original landscape photography course of all time. If they can survive 3 weeks together.
Your footsteps! Duh! Just ruined my comp. For f***'s sakes, man! You're fired, man! You're fired!
I know how to work this. Well, it shouldn't be too hard.
The less you worry about my guy, the better off
I am worried about my guy.
Well, you don't need to worry about him. He's going to take care of us.
10, 11, 12.
The project comes first, Tom. Adam, do you have anything that you'd like to contribute to the
Well, I have
project?
a little bit, but I'm saving it for Vegas.
Shania Twain.
Nobody said landscape photography was easy, especially when 4 huge egos are involved.
My God, this light is fantastic. Beautiful skies. You see that red cloud?
God dang it. Gavin, I'm going to need you to go in there.
It's jacked up, right?
Yeah, it's jacked up. No jack stands, but I need the vice grips. That is a gimbal.
Why do we have to do this and they just stay inside?
Oh,
Well, okay, I guess that works.
Well, don't tell the others, but I like gambling.
What's going on here?
Loyalties and friendships are tested to the limit, and memory cards are brimmed.
Who the hell are you guys?
who the f*** are you?
Night, guys.
Prepare to be enthralled, inspired, and disgusted, all at the same time.
I'm excited about the possibilities.
Wow, look at that. And I've got this sexy English model in my frame. Oh, that's fantastic.
So with all of this fuel expenditure, Nick, your guy is going to cover it, right?
Yeah. Who is your guy, anyway?
The F4 Road Trip, available now at f4roadtrip.com.
Sir, come on now. This is ridiculous. Get out of there, buddy. Come on, man. Get out.
That's a new level of desperation. Absolutely ridiculous. How did that play for you guys? Was that smooth or was it jerky?
Very smooth. It worked good.
I hope it was good for the other guys watching.
So there's a couple of F4 questions.
Oh, God.
People want to know where season 2 is going to take place.
It's too soon. It's too soon to talk about that. You know, I don't think any of us have recovered emotionally from the trauma of just being in that murder box together for almost a month. It was awful. So it's too soon for us to even think about that. And bear in mind, we've spent the last 6 months of our lives editing all of this. You know, it's like it's been an undertaking. So I think for all of us, we would all give you the same response. It's too soon. Let us recover, and then, you know, if we're still talking to one another, then we'll do it again.
So Peter said F4 was amazing. He's watched it once and is on his second time watching it. And he says you should do season 2 in Eastern Canada during fall colors.
Yeah, that is a good idea, actually. That is a good idea. I keep hearing a lot about what the fall colors look like over there. But, you know, again, it's like even if we were like gagging to do it again, it's, you know, the borders and everything. It's like, we can't make any plans right now. You know, it's wait and see.
Now, are you scheduled to do out of Acadia or just out of Moab?
I'm scheduled to be on the Out of Moab conference. Is it September?
September, yeah.
Yeah. So let's keep our fingers crossed that happens, because I really want to go on that trip, and I really want to go down to Colorado and shoot the fall colors there, because it's one of my favorite places.
So Ken says F4 has raised the bar for all other online photography workshops. Are you afraid of making enemies?
I think we've already made lots of enemies. You know, there's lots of hate out there for what we did, what we've changed. But I don't know. I mean, I still think that there are very talented instructors out there that create extremely high quality instructional content that it might just follow the standard format. It won't be anything like ours, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're not going to deliver the same quality of instruction. Like, for example, Ian Plant. I don't know if you guys know Ian Plant.
Oh, yeah. Ian was a Tamron guy.
Yeah. Ian's a phenomenal photographer, a brilliant instructor, and he's created a fantastic online photography course for landscape photographers. Nothing at all like what we did, but the quality is there, you know. So I don't think we're going to put anybody out of business. But I definitely feel like we've had such amazing feedback. The people that bought it and have come back to us have just been like blown away with what we did. And that's what we wanted to do. You know, we've delivered on what we wanted to do. We've created something totally unique, totally special. It's nice to be the first for once, the first to do something, you know, the pioneers, the visionaries, you know, the trailblazers. I feel like that's what we've done. And I think not only is this good for, you know, photography, but I think you will see a lot of other people in different genres, not necessarily photography, but anything. I think people will start to deliver educational material that's high quality and a high value under the guise of entertainment, of a sitcom or a movie. And I've coined the phrase edutainment. I don't know if I'm the first, but I'm the first. It's the first I've ever heard of it. I call it edutainment. And I think you're going to start to see a lot more of this, where it's actually, you know, it hits all of the buttons. It's entertaining. It's funny. There's a story. It's something that you get involved in, but you actually legitimately learn at the same time. So I'm very proud of what we've created.
Yeah. Do you feel like you've sort of fulfilled that dream as a kid of becoming a director, becoming a cinematographer at the same time?
No, I've got way more to do. I've just got started, you know.
Yeah.
I've just begun to fulfill that dream. And yeah, I've already got things planned that, you know, again, if those borders open up, there's going to be more coming, and I can't wait to get back at it, you know.
Yeah. Speaking of the borders opening up, one of our regulars, Greg Geed, would like to know when you're going to do something in the Southeast. You know, we know a couple guys down there that can get you down here and do some workshops down in the Southeast if you'd like.
Southeast. Well, I don't know. My geography is pretty bad. You're gonna have to give me some locations.
Georgia, Alabama, Smoky Mountains.
Yeah, I'd be interested in doing some of that. You know, I'm sure that there's all kinds of spectacular
And the
stuff.
swamps. The swamps are southeast.
Well, there you go. It's right on the top of my list. If I could get down there for the autumn, I don't know what time the fall is down there, but
Typically, the end of October is when the Smokies are at their peak.
yeah.
So,
What about the
and
swamps then?
The swamps, they're cypress trees are deciduous, so they do change colors, but not dramatically like Colorado is going to.
Yeah.
I would guess October, November, somewhere in that area.
Maybe, yeah. Well, if I could time it so that I could do the Utah gig and then do some Colorado and then maybe go down to the swamps, do that whole autumn trip. If it was safe to travel and things were opened up, I'd be doing that this year in the new camper that you're going to buy.
Better get looking again. I forgot about it.
Yeah, better get shopping. Oh, what's that? Is that Cletus? Oh, Cletus showed up. Yeah, I just got dropped off by his agent. There you go. There's Cletus. Hang on, I'll just tickle his underbelly. There you go. Yeah, here's Cletus. There you go, Cletus. How you doing? Oh, your breath. Oh, we're gonna have to start giving him dry food because that is just rank.
Oh, but he likes the wet stuff.
Oh, I don't like the wet stuff. Oh, it's awful. Cats are definitely better. Oh, sorry, didn't mean for you to hear that. Let's cover his ears. But yeah, as you can see, Cletus is alive and well. He's been through the tumble dryer. Smells. Oh. Let's put him down. That's just disgusting.
I had no idea Cletus was coming, or I would have brought Melon.
Oh, sorry about that. Like I said, I sent the email asking his agent. She'll be picking him up in 25 minutes. So let's better get our money's worth. He's not cheap.
So I've got a question for you from myself. So for those who are looking to get into like YouTube or content creation, what kind of gear are you using, and what does someone need to get started?
All you really need to get started, you could even do it on your phone. You really could. The phones are getting so good these days. To get started, just use whatever the cheapest thing is that you can afford, that you can plug a microphone into. That's the most important thing. People will forgive shaky, noisy, crappy, not very sharp footage that you could shoot on your phone or even a GoPro. But if the audio's bad, they're just going to tune out, So get your audio right. And there's so many cameras out there now. I just saw this thing the other day about the Insta360R, which it's kind of like a module system where you have different cameras that you can put onto this battery thing. And it's very, very versatile. You can plug microphones in. If you shoot in 360, you can just basically put it on a stick, shoot 360 degrees, and then edit afterwards where the camera angle is. So you can make it look like a normal GoPro. You could switch to in front of you. You can switch it so that it's got that globe effect. It's just phenomenal. And that's cheap. That's a few $100s. So I would say, if you're going to buy a new piece of gear, I haven't used that one yet, so I can't necessarily recommend it yet, but I'm planning on getting one. But even if you just got a GoPro, as bad as they are, I mean, my GoPro is absolute crap, but it does the job. It's very unreliable, but it does the job. So get a good microphone, get one of those. Can you pass me that one? Yeah, thanks. Get one of these, a Rode Video Micro Pro, cheap, very high quality mic. The mount is absolutely terrible. It's very annoying, but it'll do the job, but it's cheap. You put this with a GoPro, or even if you could plug it into your phone, that's it. You're away. That's what I would do. If my advice would be, if you want to get started, you should just use whatever gear you've got, but make sure you've got a good microphone. Or if your, stills camera will do the job, which is what I'm recording right now, then start with that. Just get that audio right. That's the most important thing.
So a couple of comments. Anonymous says Colorado fall colors are the best. I think you would agree with that.
100%.
And then Greg says, your last waterfall video was exceptional. I'm sure he's talking about Cletus, but he said it was very educational.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad you learned something there. Every time you shoot a vlog, especially the last two, I've gone out there and walked away with thinking, I didn't really get any good footage there. I don't know if that's going to work. You always think, I don't know if that's going to work. And then you start piecing it together and you start to think, yeah, this is not bad actually. And then you put it out there and then people come back with, wow, that was the best one you ever did, you know, which kind of, it's nice, but then it's also kind of like annoying because the other ones that you did 8 months ago where you really obsessed and labored over every single angle and that you thought was perfect, no one thought that that was your best video ever, you know. So it just goes to show you don't really know what's that good until you start getting feedback. But glad you enjoyed it. Glad you learned something.
Greg also said he was glad to see that that I broke my piggy bank to get Amanda on. And I would just like to say, David was totally against Amanda, and I had totally convinced
She
her
knows better.
to come on. I mean, I was the voice of reason again.
Yeah, she's going to get a bonus, right, for showing up.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's all right then. Yeah. Oh, you can't hear anything. All right, sorry. Elton, just nod and look happy.
Yeah, no, Amanda always deserves a bonus. She kept the secret in Oregon when I was pasting the notes in your car and on the table.
Oh, yeah.
So
You bugger. I accused so many people of that prank that you pulled on me. I almost upset a few people. Who was it that I really laid into?
It was Ryan.
Oh, I gave Ryan Smith loads of grief about that. He's like,
oh yeah. Yeah, when he found out I did it, then he was like, "Are you going to tell him?" I said, "No, not anytime soon. Not if he's mad at you."
You bugger, you prankster. Such a naughty boy, David. So naughty.
So Greg would also like to know if you do most of your own video editing.
I do all of my own video editing. Who else would? Who else would watch through this crap and you know, honestly, like it's to me, it's the fun part of the process, because when you're out filming and you're recording these skits, even if it's just in the vehicle and we're driving along, in my mind, I know how I'm going to edit that. I know how I'm going to do the little cutaways and the zooms and, you know, use editing to make it funnier. And the most laughing I do is in the edit suite, because I just laugh over and over and over again, you know, until I can't laugh about it anymore. So nobody would do it, and I wouldn't want anybody doing my editing. I think I'd probably trust someone to do my cinematic stuff, you know, if it was like you know, put together all this beautiful B-roll and do the fades to music. I'd trust somebody to do that. But when it comes to the timing and the little tweaks that make comedy work, I have to do that. I absolutely have to be the one to do that. And with the F4 project, if you see any of those skits where it's just like bizarre editing and it's just like rapid fire, that's probably me.
So while we're on editing, Pace wants to know what editing software you use, but I would also like to give some insight to the people who just think YouTube videos appear. How much time do you think you invest in editing?
All of the time.
That's all he does.
Yeah, it's all I do, honestly. So the way that it goes is we'll go out and shoot a video. The next day, I'm editing for 3 days straight. And sometimes I might be like, well, that intro doesn't work. We're going to have to go out and refilm it. You go out and refilm the intro, and then it's another day. So for every vlog that you see, I think the fastest I ever edited one was 2 days. And I think that was the one I did at Seal Rock, which was, I think I called it something like What It's Like to Vlog with F4 or something like that. And the reason why that one was easy was because Greg filmed all the B-roll. And it was long sequences of slow-mo, you know. So I just dropped it all in the timeline chronologically, timed it to music, and the actual pieces of talking to the camera were like 3 minutes. So before you know it, you have a 12-minute video. It's dead easy to do. But whenever there are skits, you know, whenever there's a conversation where there's back and forth, as soon as editing, you know, chops become required, it takes days. So on average, 3 to 4 days minimum for each video that you see, sometimes longer. Once I think I spent a week. So it's a really laborious process. And one thing that I did to change my or to speed up my workflow was I switched from Adobe Premiere to DaVinci Resolve. And since then, it's been far less stressful. I don't throw things across the room anywhere near as much. There's less screaming, isn't there? For sure. It's just a lovely piece of software. It's touch wood. It's stable, doesn't crash. There's a few quirks, but on the whole, it's far better to me than Adobe Premiere was. So yeah, DaVinci Resolve, and guess what? It's free.
So Peter would like to know the music in your videos, how much of that is stock compared to how much you've composed on your own?
I would say it's about 50-50. From the earlier videos, it was all mine. And then about 8 months ago, I switched to Epidemic Sound because I was just getting kind of bored of listening to my own stuff. And, you know, I don't really, or did, you know, my own personal library that I spent years writing doesn't really feature much of that sort of soft ambient piano stuff because that's not really what I was good at. So Epidemic Sound is a really good resource for the types of music that I never created. So it fills that hole in my library, my own personal library. It fills that hole in a much better way than I could do myself. You know, for me to write music of that standard, I'd have to take a long time to get to that point. So yeah, I think probably these days it's about 50-50. But I tend to, when it's my music, I tend to kind of reuse the same music. You know, I've got my little theme tune music, like bit, and then I've got like a sort of a nice sort of action adventure type of music that I use a lot whenever there's kind of fast-paced scenes. That one's mine. And then there's a few sort of funny ones that I use when it's like I just need a bit of funny, quirky music in the background. Those are all mine. But when it comes to the image reveals, usually it'll be an Epidemic Sound one. And yeah, I mean, that's such a great resource, Epidemic Sound. I can't recommend it enough.
Yeah, for people that don't know, is it a per item, or do you have a subscription that you know, similar to Artist.io, or
honestly, I don't know the answer to that question because I'm an ambassador, so I basically get it for free, and I just put like a credit in the videos with a link back to Epidemic Sound, so it promotes their service. But I think that they're a subscription service.
I think so too.
And everyone I know of that uses it and that pays for it is happy with it. They all think it's good value for money. And to me, it's just about the quality. The quality is there. And whenever I post, maybe it's because I'm an ambassador, but whenever I post a YouTube video, I never, ever get those copyright strikes. Whereas I used, what's that really popular service that everybody, what's it called? There's another service that's very similar.
Is it Audio Blocks?
No, it wasn't Artlist either. Oh, I forget the name. But I used this piece of music that me and Michael Shainbloom used in our trailer for Milky Way Made Easy, that course that we did, because it's just a fantastic piece of music. And I paid for it. And even though I paid for it, I still got a copyright strike, you know, and I had to send all these emails back and forth. MusicBed, it was musicbed.com. So it was such a bad experience that I'll never use them again, you know, and it's a shame because that music was brilliant and they have some fantastic music on there on MusicBed, but the whole customer experience was terrible. And I never got anything like that with Epidemic Sound. It's just been flawless every time. Maybe that's because I'm like on their list of ambassadors, so everything's automatic, but yeah, seamless and effortless. I would highly recommend them. And they don't pay me to say that.
So we're a little over an hour now, but we have one last question and we'll start to wrap things up. But
okay.
Sharon wants to know, what was the most fun you've ever had out shooting?
Well, I can't possibly answer that question. That would be a bit X-rated. Let's just say, if you watch back in the back catalogue, in Amanda's very first appearance when we hiked up to the mountain, 50-40, I did some Milky Way shooting. It was very fun. Oh, I can't believe I just said that. They might have to edit that out.
No, this was a tell-all, so that's good.
Oh yeah, it was a tell-all. Yeah, so I hope that answers the question. Oh God, I've gone too far. There you go. That's it.
So we're all caught up on questions. Do you have anything, Dave?
No, I just, again, want to thank Gavin for agreeing to do this, and thank you for, getting Amanda to make a cameo appearance here. It's always good to see her. hopefully everything gets straightened out for you. The borders open up. We'll see you in September in Moab. Best of luck and cheers to all your projects, and just wishing you the best. You've become a friend over the time I've known you, and I think that's what people expect. So,
well, thank you very much, David and Cecil, for having us on. Let's get Cletus to say goodbye as well.
Oh, yes.
And
He's
Cletus,
so quiet.
he was weirdly quiet today, wasn't he? Yeah. So thanks for having us on, guys, and thanks to everybody for tuning in. And yes, I had a blast, and hopefully I'll see you guys in September.
yes, thank you.
All right, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh, your breath. Oh, honestly, it's just disgusting. Cletus.